For all you editors out there, I don't really think I do anything different than you. You know, it's like a used car salesman. You know, you just say, hey, this is a good cut. And you want to know why? You know, I was producing, directing, and editing these no-budget music videos, right? And there were shows like MTV's Basement Tapes. I was putting them on. We're talking the 80s here. And then one day, this guy said, who cuts your stuff? And I go, well, I do. I cut my own stuff. And he goes, would you cut for me? And I asked, well, does it pay anything? And he said, $600. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I've never made any money before. And then our second video together was this unknown guy by the name of MC Hammer. When I did Iron Man, I had no idea of this whole MCU thing, and I didn't really have a comic background. And I knew that they were trying to be a studio, but I didn't even know that the movies were going to tie into each other until I was cutting the Sam Jackson tag at the end of Iron Man. I with Iron Man, put the prototype together. And especially in regards to how you do comedy and story. I'm going to show you a scene we call the tip montage.
Big ass safe, just sitting in the basement, just chilling. Of course, Vanessa comes to me because he knows I got bad things. Of course, I asked him, did Emily told Carlos to tell you to get me what kind of safe it was? And he says, nah, dog. All she said is that it's like super legit, and whatever's in it, it's gotta be good.
What we did is that he first shot in the apartment where he's actually telling the story. And he shot a whole bunch of takes, and there was a whole lot of, there was the scripted lines and then a whole lot of improvisation. And so Michael Pena, you know, who plays the Luis character, he was you know, doing all sorts of various riffs. And what I did is I did, you know, what we call a radio cut, which is that, you know, I cut just jump cuts of him to try to get this stream of consciousness kind of feel to the whole thing. Once we had put this together, the director came and checked out, and he was like, yeah, that's it. So they went to the rest of the shoot and started shooting those other scenes using that audio as the playback. Obviously, that's a big-time effect sequence. The planning part, after it was boarded, it was prevised, which is where they do a rudimentary animation for the whole thing. So we had a map for this in animated form. Then they went in San Francisco and they shot all the backgrounds, and then we waited for some of the animation to come back. And on a movie like this, you start getting effect shots back, and then you comment and you change. It's not like anything's really set in stone because you're looking for something that works. On all things visual effects, I'm sort of standing with the director when we go into these reviews or they come into the editing room. The actor actually does do two things. They do mocap, where, you know, they do a lot of the stuff, the running up and the actions and the looking around. And then they also do a full face pass so that whenever you see Ant-Man, you actually have his real eyes. You actually see his gestures and stuff. So as the animation started getting better, we started seeing it, but it still didn't play like we wanted until we started really involving the actors in the ADR. And we actually had, I think, 3 or 4 sessions where they would start these riffs, and then say we would go to Paul Rudd and then to Michael Douglas, and then they would start playing off each other. A lot of what we were looking for, you know, the team, was what are our opportunities? I mean, what can we do with this world and with shrinking? I realized as we were putting this and the sequence around it together that it was inherently more interesting when he's small than when he's large. So you would think that that sounds obvious to you, but when they're shooting, they can't shoot a small little guy. So there's so much photography of him running down at full size, And I think I removed 80% of it. I just was like, it's just so much more fun, let's have him pop to do a hit and then right back to small and make it quick. One of the things as we started to discover what really works and what doesn't in making this film, we called that particular trick the gift that keeps giving. That was our inside language for it. Because we knew that once you go small, you can be in this otherworldly place, because sound is different when you're up against, and air has motes of dust and things like this, so it is kind of different. Then you just cut to the wide and it's the most benign thing, a guy in a bathtub, little thing or whatever. And so that's what we called the gift that keeps giving. And I would actually refrain from using it till the right moment when it feels like, everything's at stake. This is the bad guy, he's on the track and he's about to get run over, and then cut to the wide and it's just a little train falling off the tracks. The person I call my secret weapon is actually my music editor. So it starts with her, Tanya Hill, putting together a temp track that we use for screenings. But that also becomes a map of where music's probably going to go, and then whatever needle drop, songs that we bring in. And then the composer comes on, and they have some fresh ideas that are awesome. And I thought Chris Beck was truly great. He has a wonderful music editor himself. So then we're still cutting even after they've recorded the score, and then they have to sit there and cut and alter it. I have a really amazing crew, and I've had the same first assistant editor for 20-something years. And she runs the editing room, not me. She knows what's happening. I just edit. I just concentrate on story editing, and now I'm also sort of a leader editor. I lead other editors. And I knew from having done these so many times that the process later on is all about the action, but you gotta get the tone. You gotta find the tone of the picture. You have to nail it. And the longer it takes to get that, the more your picture's in danger. When we first putting them together, you treat a scene like it's its own movie, and it's like its own child, and you want it to be everything. So you make it, the longest everything it could be with all the bells and whistles, and then later on you go, well, it's going to start in the middle and end 7 seconds later, and that's it. Throw out the rest. Then you start getting multiple scenes at some point, because they don't shoot in order. So at some point you start getting combined sequences start to happen, and then what you find is that it's like a domino effect, because I can't start on this shot if I'm going to go from this scene to this scene this way, and then I change this, now everything's going to change. So then editing is about re-editing, really. We try things even if we have it right, just to make sure that there wasn't anything left around, I'll start constructing without necessarily even seeing all of it. I know some editors would be horrified with that, but by the end of it, I'll have seen every frame that they shot, but that doesn't, having not seen it yet doesn't stop me from cutting, because as soon as I see something that catches my eye, I'll go for it, even if I later throw it away.